Okay, I am recording now, and I'm sharing with you. Okay, is that okay now? Everybody can see the text?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. All right. You remember last time, Shuruk has just reminded me that I want to say something about Senegal. What I said at the time, Shuruk and everybody else, what the context was colonialism. And I told you that every single time we say something about racism, colonialism comes to the surface. Colonialism comes to my mind, which means, historically speaking, there is a direct relationship between the beginning of racism as an ideology, beginning of racism as an ideology and practice practiced by European colonizers in Africa. In Africa and for the rest of the world, including the Arab world, So Senegal has, or rather had a special case because it was on the eastern coast of Africa. If you have a look at the map of Africa, the last country that African slaves who were captured and sent to America, the last piece of land that they saw in Africa was Senegal. It was called the island they were kept in before they were pushed in a ship to be taken to America. That island is called Gorée Island. It is part of Senegal. So Senegal, in our consciousness, has a special place. One, Francophonic, which means French colonialism, and slavery. African slaves who were taken to America, enslaved in America. The last part of Africa they could see was Senegal. So this is why Senegal has a special place in our consciousness, historically speaking, of course. Okay, so now let's go ahead. If you remember what we talked about last time, excuse me, we started talking about, looking at the scene, looking at the characters, not all the characters. We still have not come across, we have not met, the main characters yet. If you remember, we started talking about the title, Black Girl, and we said there are two elements because I assume, this is the beginning. We have not read the story yet. So black face, the color of the skin. By the way, when we say black in English, we are talking about, African blackness. Blackness here becomes identity. What kind of identity? Racial identity. Girl, gender. So we are talking about two, in the title, we're talking about two marginalized groups. Two marginalized groups. So when we say marginalized means on the margin, not mainstream. All right, not mainstream, on the margin. We Palestinians are marginalized by mainstream ideology in Palestine. What is mainstream ideology here? Is the ideology of the colonizer. What is it? Zionism. As we saw in our last story, Land of Sad Oranges. Okay, so here we're talking about colonialism. We're talking about racism. Definitions يا صباح يا شباب. Colonialism, racism, and perhaps we will see maybe sexism, gender oppression in a way, gender oppression. We will see. We will see. What do I want to? Where did we stop last time? I think the last two lines of the first.
Two women.
Yes, exactly. The last two lines, right? Last two lines of the first page. Okay, excellent. Okay, people are still joining. I cannot remove this. Right, women. Of course, you remember we said probably there is a crime, and this is I forgot the name of the city. Antibes, yeah, Antibes is the city, and we have policemen, we have cars, 2 Citroens, then we have media. So we have people who represent power and authority. Power and authority. Police, journalists, law and media. Law and media. They represent power, they represent mainstream ideology. I need you to pay attention to the terminology يا صبايا ويا شباب. I need you to pay attention to the terminology, the words I am using. Okay? So now we are inside the villa. You remember the name of the villa? Villa of Green Happiness. And we want to see whether it is the Villa of Green Happiness, whether it is green, and whether there is happiness in it. So 2 women were hunched together, sobbing, you know, sobbing, crying, crying loudly. Sobbing means crying, you know, loudly, voice and noise coming out. Excuse me. Women were hunched together, sobbing. They looked very much alike. Why? Most probably sisters. Probably sisters. The same straight forehead, the same curved nose, the same dark circles about eyes hidden from crying. So they were crying. The one in the pale dress was speaking. Okay, so this is the first time somebody, a character, says something, which means we are going to find out more about what is happening. We said there's probably a crime, and this is why we have policemen. We have a ladder, if you remember, and the media. So this lady seems to be a witness. Seems to be a witness who must have witnessed the crime or must have called the police. Let's say, we don't know. I'm just guessing. So after my nap, usually you have a nap in the afternoon, I felt like taking a bath. Okay, she wanted to have a bath, a shower. The door was locked from the inside. The door of the bathroom was locked from inside, blowing her nose. I thought myself, what did she say? It's the maid taking her bath. So here we have the mistress, the lady of the house, talking, obviously, because she says the maid. So she must have had a maid at the time. Remember, it is 1958. It's 1958. And here we have a French lady, white lady, telling us something about the crime. And she said, I was sleeping. When I got up, I went to the bathroom. The bathroom was closed from the inside. And I thought the maid, the helper, must have been taking a bath. I say the maid, because the word the maid is a little bit more polite than servant. Okay? Still, I personally don't use that word, maid. Okay. Is there an alternative word that we can use? Yes, helper. Helper. Somebody who helps you do something at home, housekeeping, cleaning, etc., etc. Okay. She said, I said the maid. So she's saying, I'm not saying servant, I'm saying the maid. All right. Okay. As if she's doing us a favor. We will see. Now, this is important because I want you to remember this later on, right? Language is important. Say the maid, she corrected, but we never called her anything else but her name. Oh, sorry, I'm saying the maid. We never called her maid. We just used her name, which means we are liberal. That's the impression she's trying to give. That's the impression she's trying to leave. So, no, okay. We used to call her by her name, and her name was what? Diwana. Right? Diwana is an African name, a Senegalese name, not a European name. So here we have French woman, lady is French, and her helper is from Senegal. Now, why is this important? It's important because it's a metaphor. First of all, the title of the story is Black Girl. And then we have a metaphor here. The lady, white colonizer, and the servant, the maid, Diwana, black girl, Africa. The colonized, the colonizer, and the colonized. Okay. I waited for more than an hour. So she knocked on the door. Nobody answered. She waited for an hour, but didn't see her come out. She didn't see the Diwana, the maid, come out. I went back and called, knocking on the door. Hello, Diwana, hello. There was no answer. Then I phoned our neighbor, the Commodore. Okay. I want you to pay attention to the Commodore. The Commodore is a colonial officer. Colonial officer. So the neighbor, the Commodore. Now we are talking about colonialism, the beginning of our discussion now, of our discussion of colonialism and racism. Why? You will see. He has already said the maid, etc. Okay, he said we will wait. But let's see now the Commodore. The Commodore is an officer, Navy, most probably a Navy officer. So she called the Commodore, obviously a retired Commodore. She stopped, wiped her nose, and began to cry again. Was she crying? Let's see. Sister, you remember I said two ladies who looked alike? Now, the narrator is saying her sister. Okay? Sister, the younger of the two, hair cut in a boyish style, sat hanging her head. Okay. You are the one who discovered the body? Chief asked the Commodore. The chief, the police, asked the Commodore, you were the one who discovered the body, which means there's a dead body. There's a murder. There's a murder. Later on, we'll find out that it's a suicide, but we will discuss this. We will discuss it. For the time being, there's a dead body. So the officer, the chief asked the Commodore, you are the one who discovered the body? Yes. That is, when Madame Pochet, the lady, when Madame Pochet called and told me that the black girl, notice, racism, he doesn't call her by name, the black girl, right? So where is her, pay attention everybody, where is her identity? What does that tell us about her identity? For the colonizer, she is a black girl, just a black girl, an African. Aha. So the Commodore says, the black girl, okay, the black girl had looked herself in the bathroom. I thought it was a joke. Why would a black girl in France look herself in the bathroom? I spent 30, okay, this tells me something about a Commodore. Notice we're talking about colonialism. Those characters, most of them, if not all, with the exception of Africans, of course, are colonialists. So I spent 35 years sea, Navy, doing what? Most probably colonizing their lands, colonizing the countries. So I spent 35 years at sea, you know? I have roamed the 7 seas, you know, so he's boasting, he's showing off. I am, excuse me, I am retired from the Navy. So here we have retired Commodore, retired colonial officer. Okay. Yes, we know. Of course, he's talking and talking and talking. So the officer wants to know about the girl. That's it, the crime. So, okay, we know. Yes, well, Madame Pochet called, I brought my ladder. Remember at the beginning of the story, we saw a ladder. Who brought the ladder? No, it was Mademoiselle Dubois, Madame's sister. So it was the sister who suggested the idea of bringing the ladder. Why? We will see. And when I got to the window, to jump inside the bathroom from the window, I saw the black girl. Pay attention, because this is the answer to our question about what is happening. He says, I saw the black girl swimming in blood. Wow. Very violent scene. Later on, we'll find out about the way she kills herself, which is more violent. And we will raise a question. That, but now the body is swimming in blood. It is discovered by the white French Commodore. Don't forget this. Okay? Where's the key to the door? Here it is, Your Honor, said the inspector. Okay, here is the key to the door. Just wanted to see it. I have checked the window, said the other inspector. I am the one who opened it after breaking the pane. Broke the pane, the window, and intercepted the retired Navy man, the Commodore. Which pane did you break? Which pane? He repeated. He was wearing white linen trousers and a blue jacket. Yes, I saw it, but I would like to ask precisely. Okay, which window, which pane did you break? The second from the top, answered the sister. This, okay, 2 stretcher bearers, stretcher, where you put the dead body. 2 stretcher bearers came down carrying, look at the description, carrying a body wrapped in a blanket. Whose body is that? It's the body, of course, using their language, the black girl. But if you ask me and ask you, he has a name. Juana's body. Okay? Okay, look at, you know, it's violent. Blood dripped on the steps. So they were coming downstairs, second floor, coming downstairs, and you know, her blood still fresh. Her blood was dripping on the steps. The magistrate the magistrate lifted a corner of the blanket. The officer lifted the blanket and he looked at her face and frowned like this. A black girl lay dead. What do we know about this girl? One, her name is Diwana. Two, she is a helper. They use the word maid. An African helper is dead. An African maid is dead. And so what's she doing in France? Well, she's a maid. Why did she leave Senegal? You'll find out. A black girl lay dead on the stretcher, her throat. Okay, pay attention. Everybody, whatever you are doing, pay attention. Her throat, look at this. Her throat cut from one ear to the other. Are we clear? Her throat cut from one ear to the other, which means she used a knife. Sorry, I have to, but this is extremely important. She didn't just kill herself. She didn't take medicine, pills, whatever, poison, stab herself, and that's it. Jump from the third or fourth floor. No. She took a knife, look at this, and then she cut her throat from one ear to the other like this, extremely violent. But this is very symbolic. This is very symbolic. She didn't cut her wrist here, right? Or stab herself in the body, in the heart. So why cut the throat? Okay? Think about it. Think about it. Voice. Okay? Voice. She's voiceless. An African person, she's voiceless. And as a woman, she's voiceless. Right? So, and she cut her throat from the left ear to the right ear. Okay. Very interesting. It was with this knife, kitchen knife. It's not a small knife, right? A kitchen knife. Said another man from the top of the stairs. That is very important. The way Diwana commits suicide. Everybody, the way Diwana, the African girl, the black girl, commits suicide, the way she kills herself. Of course, this is very symbolic. It's very symbolic. Don't forget, we are studying comparative literature, right? And do you remember the father, the land of sad oranges? What did he want to do? You remember when they left Palestine, when he couldn't feed his children, he started looking for a pistol in the box. Why? Kill them and kill himself. Despair, yes, despair. But the point is, what leads to this despair? What causes this despair? I want to stop, think about it, pay attention to it. I want you to relate this, our reality in Gaza. How many young men have committed suicide lately in Gaza? Think about it. How many young men after 2014 until today have left Gaza, died in the Mediterranean Sea, trying to be smuggled to Europe, killing themselves, in other words, directly. But in Gaza, last month, a young man in the north, committed suicide, leaving an unbelievable message. That number of people, especially young people, killing themselves is on the rise. Now, I'm not saying this is good or this is bad. No, we are not moralizing. We are not judgmental. We are studying literature, right? We want to understand the reasons that lead people to this level of despair. Despair, you know the word despair? When you become hopeless. Loss of hope leads to despair. What causes this loss of hope? You believe that you cannot change. What makes you believe that you cannot change your reality? One, as an individual. Two, the community. The community. What made the father in the land of sad oranges think about taking this pistol out of the box, shooting himself after shooting his children, his family? What are the reasons that have led this African girl to commit suicide, but without, notice, this is the point. She insisted actually on leaving a message, without making a very strong point, cutting her throat from the ear to the ear. Okay, so it is very, very symbolic. We want to understand that symbol within the relationship between the colonizer and the colonized, the colonizer and the colonized. Gaza is besieged under a horrible blockade. Gaza is occupied by Israel. Gaza is colonized. And this is a political context. So what is the political context in this story? Is she crazy? No, she's not crazy. So there must be other reasons. Okay, we have 10 minutes. Let's go ahead. This is important. This is why I paid, I paid some attention to it. All right? I spent some time discussing it. I want to understand. Don't be judgmental. Very easy. You can say, okay, no, she's crazy. Why did she kill herself? All right? Haram. Okay, we know that. But that's not what we are discussing. When you study literature, do not be judgmental. Suspend your morality and judgment and try to understand what is happening. Okay, look at one of the answers. This is the beginning of the answer. You bring her from Africa. Aha, this is the first time Africa is being mentioned. You notice, did she come from Africa? He doesn't say, did she come from Africa? What did he say? Look at the sentence again. Did you bring her? It's as if she's a souvenir. You remember the masks in the house, African souvenirs, and here this girl, Diwana, is like a thing, like a souvenir. They bought or they brought from Africa with the other souvenirs, as if she belongs to them. She's part of their properties. Did you bring her from Africa, or did you hire her here? Or was she here in France as a maid and you hired her? Look at the answer. We brought her back from Africa in April. She came by boat. So not by plane. She came by boat, not with them. They must have flown. She must have taken the ship. My husband is with aerial navigation in Dakar. So the husband is also a colonial officer, colonialist, white colonizer, like Israeli officers. Okay? And he used to work where? Notice, aerial navigation. Dakar. Dakar is the capital of Senegal. Okay, it's the capital of Senegal. But the company only pays air passage for the family. So they took a plane from Dakar to Paris, to France, and they sent Diwana by ship. He worked for us in Dakar. So The relationship goes back to the days when they used to work in Senegal. She worked for 2.5 or 3 years. So she worked for about 3 years for them in Senegal. How old is she? Interestingly, ladies, excuse me, the lady says, I don't know exactly. She works for them. She lived with them for 3 years. She doesn't know how old she is. According to her passport, she was born in 1927, which means 21. Exactly, 21. The events of the story take place in 1958. Oh, okay, look at this now. Okay, what I want from you, when you read again and again, I want you to underline racist remarks. Racist remarks. Oh, the natives, which means like us, we are native Palestinians, correct? So the natives, native Africans, natives don't know when they are born. Have no clue when they are born because they are ignorant. Okay, racism. Pay attention. Oh, natives don't know when they are born. For the naval officer, the commodore, the naval officer, he says, oh, the natives don't know. Plunging his hands in his pockets. I don't know why she killed herself. This is the lady talking. I don't know why she killed herself. She was well treated. We were very good. We were very good. She was very well treated here. She ate the same food. Okay, when you see, she ate the same rooms as my children. Is that correct? We'll see. Is she lying? I don't know. I really don't know. We'll find out. If she's lying, it means something. If she's not lying, it also means something. Now I'm asking you, do you think Israelis admit their racism? Do they say we are racist? And if they don't, that means they are not conscious of their racism. Why? I told you I spent about 6 or 7 years in South Africa. I was working and studying in South Africa, in Johannesburg. You know, South Africa, there was an apartheid system, Nizam al-Apartheid, very racist. Whites have everything, blacks have not, like us in this time. And all whites in South Africa, all the whites I met, never admitted their racism. Never admitted their racism. You understand? So he says, okay, the lady, he says, we treated her very well. All right. She ate the same food, she had the same rooms as my children. And your husband, where is he? He left for Paris. He left for Paris the day before yesterday. Aha, said the inspector, still looking at the knickknacks. They were, eating something. Why do you think it was suicide? The same question we have raised, correct? Why do you think it was suicide? Now we want to know. Why? Said the retired officer. Oh, who do you think would make an attempt on that? Look at the answer. Don't forget, pay attention to racist remarks. I will be asking. Okay, look at this. Look at the answer. Why? The retired officer. Oh, who do you think would make an attempt on the life of Negro girl? Negro. That is racist. That is racist. Who's interested in the life of a Negro girl? Who would kill a Negro girl? She never went out. So she never went out. Like an animal. She didn't know anyone except for Madame's children. So she knew nobody except the lady and her children. Reporters, media, reporters were getting impatient, bored. Okay, they just want to write something, and that's it. The suicide of a maid, even if she was black, didn't amount to a hill of beans. They thought the suicide of a maid, a black girl, didn't make news. Nobody would be interested in reading about this suicide. Racism. Racism. There was nothing newsworthy. It's not newsworthy, it's unimportant. It's unimportant. There was nothing newsworthy in it. Racism must have been homesickness. Excuse me. It must have been homesickness. She must have missed her home. Because so they think that the reason was homesickness. Why would she kill herself? Because lately she had been behaving very strangely. Now this is important. Because lately she had been she'd been behaving very strangely. She wasn't the same. It wasn't the same, which means Diwana changed. Okay, I want to stop here. This is important because we have less than a minute. Okay. Tomorrow, no, the day after tomorrow, we'll send you the link tomorrow, okay? As I told you, you have homework. One, write a paragraph about this. You should have sent it. Attachment and the answers to the questions, because that is 5%. All right? Don't forget that. We'll stop receiving. أتفضل يا شروق.
It will be on Monday.